Watch it,
Good
watch it,
job.
watch it.
Oh.
All
Oh,
rise.
too soon.
Mr. Campos is here. All
No,
rise.
no, he was joking.
I'm joking with him.
No, you can sit down.
You sit down.
Now,
Got some power there, Mr. Brown.
now,
Hey,
now those heads need to get through those doors at the end of the night. Let's.
man, they heard him. They couldn't see him, but they heard him.
Shut up, Frankie.
Louis, you got the first. Louis,
God.
thank you for the parking documents. Thank you for the parking documents that you emailed.
Yesterday you sent them.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't sure if you were being sarcastic. Sorry, Mike.
We're going to call this meeting of the State of Session City Council order. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. As we come here before you today to discuss important matters, we ask for your guidance and wisdom. You are the source of all knowledge and understanding. Therefore, we seek your direction in decision-making process. Help us to listen attentively to one another with open hearts and minds. Peacemaker, peacegiver, fill our hearts with peace. May we be kind to one another and by being clear. Most of all, please bring peace to the Middle East and end the wars in Ukraine and between Gaza and Israel. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Mayor?
Here.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Here.
Mrs. Rose?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana?
Here.
And Mayor Panto?
Here. At this time, we'll have approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved, and is there a second? And second, questions on the agenda? Call a question, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Action on our minutes of our April 10th meeting.
Move.
Second.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, with a motion and second, roll call, please.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
At this time, we have a presentation by Omnes, one of our local landscape architects out of the Simone Silk Mill and I'll introduce Dave Hopkins to introduce the topic of the Southeast Quadrant.
Thank you, Mayor. So if council recalls, we had hired Omnes for two reasons. One was to try to make the Southeast Quadrant into a really cool public space. You know, as the downtown keeps growing, demand for recreation and modern public spaces is growing. And then the second reason was to help us sort of figure out what an equitable arrangement of outdoor dining would be in that area in Len's Court. There's been some disagreements among the businesses in that area, and that there's some other issues from an enforcement standpoint that we need to handle. And so we've been working with Omnes on trying to figure those two issues out. And with that, I'll hand it over to the staff.
Hello again.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Brought the team with you today.
Yeah, we left some at the studio here,
Okay.
but we got good
You
representation.
don't have everybody here.
So I'm Laura Stenfeld from Omnes. I'm the principal. We're a landscape architecture planning and art studio. We're based at the Silk Mill. And I think Dave did a pretty good introduction. So we're here tonight to show you some analysis and also some of the concept designs that we've been working on. So I just want to start orienting everybody here. This is the Southeast Quadrant. We're keeping in mind the future hotel and restaurant site that's going to be at 1 through 8 Center Square. And we're also considering the outdoor dining conditions on the southern edge of Lanes Court. So in this plan, you see the large expanse of paving in the center. And I just want to point out, if you can see on the screen, the green lines, those are trench drains, which are basically a dividing line in between new and existing paving, which are, just good guidelines to see. This is the site of the quadrant here. So you can see those trench drains are at that split and this is all new paving for when Center Square was redone. And there's this huge expanse of paving. We really want to activate it and make it just a beautiful public space. We are keeping all the recently installed paving, trees, lighting poles that are in there, and we're looking at other ways where we can put layers of programming on top of it to make this feel more alive here. So this view shows the entry into Lanes Court. So it's one of Easton's iconic alleyways. There's a really pinched circulation point, and that's between 8 Center Square, which is the building on the left side, and then the face of 14 Center Square, which is Pearly Bakers. So a permanent fence was installed in front of 14 Center Square by the owner, and the fire department actually deemed it unsafe for circulation. So it is only a little bit over 5 feet, and the fence is also installed over a sewer manhole. So it prevents any sort of safe access to that in the future. So in between the fire department making that recommendation and the fact that it's installed over sewer, we definitely recommend that this be de-installed and taken away. And for the circulation in between, that 5-foot space in between the building and the fence, it is about 5'2", and so that does meet current ADA circulation. However, when you go there, you have to go around the corner to get into the alleyway, so you can't really see a clear view. It feels very unsafe at nighttime. And also, you kind of have to, because it's only 5 feet, you have to step to the side when somebody else is coming toward you. So it just is a very awkward corner. It doesn't feel safe. And so for that reason, we started looking at different circulation pathways. These images are showing the eastern side of Lanes Court. So that we're recommending that it is repaved, and we'd like to take the pedestrian sidewalk and cartway as a flush condition. Right now it's a tripping hazard, especially as you come out of Mothers, which I have learned firsthand many years ago. And the paving, we really want to create a clear pathway and also take the opportunity to delineate in between the pathway and the dining area. And I think, oh, actually, I wanted to mention something else. At the very end of the street is Sitgreaves Street. So that's going to be improved in the future. That's part of a totally different project. So we know that there's going to be painted lanes. There will be furniture improvements there. We also are recommending that there would be a mural that would be put at the end of that. And then Carson's going to go through something at the end of Lanes Court. We're thinking about doing an archway signage that really celebrates the historic nature of Lanes Court. And that would be at the threshold on the east side and on the west side. I'll leave this to you.
Hi, I'm Carson Fiscatore from Omnes as well. So one thing sorry about that, can you hear me now? So one thing we did at the beginning of kind of developing our framework for the outdoor dining and courtyard area is looking further into the existing conditions and kind of looking at the pinch point that Laura already mentioned, as well as some of the other kind of constraints such as the tree pits. There's also some light poles. We also looked at kind of rough square footage of existing outdoor dining space of each of the restaurants there too. And then we also started looking at the current street and sidewalk dining in Easton. So this is a representation of one of the street dining spaces with the kind of Jersey barriers. And this was helping us to kind of look at how much space is allocated for outdoor dining in that scenario. We also looked at how much outdoor dining is allocated for all of these restaurants to just help us understand kind of the average outdoor dining space in Easton right now. So that ended up being about 194 square feet. And then what we started to do is determine a clear path minimum. And this is something that we're recommending should be a standard circulation path for safety. So this has become the kind of main parameter that we're using in our framework, as you'll see. And so this is really kind of prioritizing safe pathways. We also referenced the New York City Outdoor Dining Program to look at this. So the 8-foot clear pathway was kind of the minimum that they were using. So we thought that that would definitely be an appropriate minimum for us. So as you can see here, in the blue, we're showing an 8-foot clear pathway, and this kind of is offset from the constraints of the site. So here you can see the tree pits are kind of constraining the edges of the site, and this building at 8 Center Square is constraining that edge there. From there, we've kind of also developed a framework based on that clear pathway. So our proposed dining standards are basically to that the owner must maintain a clear pathway of 8 feet in front of outdoor dining areas for circulation throughout Lens Court. And in terms of the actual space of the outdoor dining area can extend from the outermost edge of the front of the building where the facade meets the ground, as long as it does not conflict with that 8-foot clear path requirement. We've also started developing some site elements that we're proposing as part of the framework that will really kind of make this a special place, and also some of it will kind of help that kind of structure of the clear pathways as well. So the first thing is overhead string lights, which could be really festive and inviting. We're also showing pathway kind of carpets under the dining area. That will be one thing that will kind of help you delineate where dining is versus where a pathway is. We're also proposing dividers that are between the restaurants. So we're not proposing dividers all the way around each dining area, but just to kind of delineate spaces between each restaurant. Along with the overhead string lights, we're also proposing underlit benches to offer some more lighting at night, and then also some beautiful native seasonal plants that will kind of make it a special place year-round. And then you'll see in the concepts, we're also making sure that there is still the flexibility for events and festivals. So you'll see in the design concepts that we maintain that flexibility. And then this is the archway that Laura mentioned. So this is a sketch that we developed that is kind of referencing a couple things. So one is the historic Newmeyer Theater in Easton. So we looked at some forms of that, as well as some of the new Easton signage that's been going up. So we thought there could be a beautiful arch kind of highlighting Lanes Court. It could be mounted on one side to a building, but it could also just be on poles on either side. And then there is also the opportunity to integrate lighting as well, which could be really great. I'll pass it back to Laura.
All right. So we actually have 2 designs to go through tonight, and we're interested to hear your thoughts if you have a preference. The first one that we're showing you, this is showing a circular kind of layout with benches. So if you look at number 1, these are double-sided benches with a back. They're 11 feet from the curb area. And we did that so that if in the future you wanted to have market tents along the edge, then you could definitely have that. The middle bench is 20 feet long. The 2 benches on either side are 10 feet long. So we imagined this would be a great place for people to sit and watch the circle, or you could also sit there and watch the interior of the quadrant too. And the other ways that we're activating the interior of the quadrant is what you look at with number 2 and number 3 for the furnishings. So the brown dots, they're actually entirely wood benches. and they're quite large. So they're about 6 or 7 feet. And so you can have multiple people sitting on these. You could have little kids like picnicking on them. They're very versatile, and if you go to the Allentown Arts Walk, we actually use them there, and they're very successful. So these are also movable with a forklift. So this allows during market events for all of these furnishings to be moved around. Number 3 is very similar to the wood bench, but it does have this very neat like high back island in the middle. So you can have planting. You actually could plant a small tree in there too if you wanted to add a little bit of shade and color. These are also movable with a forklift. So the configuration is really flexible and can change, which is something we're really trying to emphasize in both of the designs. And then in the center, you can see those yellow dotted lines. Those are indicating overhead sort of festival lights. And we wanted to create a sense of enclosure on top of the plaza that feels very festive. We're also thinking that whatever that pole is would probably be a higher pole, so that in the future, when there is a stage, we've heard for cruise night, there's a stage that sets up there, then we have the flexibility to do that. So you can hear in all of these things, flexibility is a big priority for us. The catenary lights, they could be mounted to poles in the paving, or if there was an agreement with the building owners, then they could actually be mounted directly to the building facades. So that's something to be worked out. On top of that, we are just showing some planting improvements, probably in the planters at either edge. We're keeping all of the existing trees and pole lights, which is great. And then in the yellow zone, you can see here with the red dividers, those are what Carson had referenced earlier, where these are just between restaurants and go out to form that 8-foot pathway. But we're not at all bounding in the restaurant areas because we want it to feel very open and safe and that people can circulate through there. This is showing the layout that includes the stage and also 10 by 10 market tents. Those are the squares. So we're just showing them overlaid onto the concept, but what's great is because all of these elements are movable by forklift, that you can actually move and change this depending on whatever festival is happening. So on some cases, you might want to move it to a different site, store it off-site, or you can just rearrange it depending on whatever festival is happening there. And they wouldn't be incredibly heavy, so if you have a forklift, you know, they're easy to move, but the normal person couldn't sort of nudge these things and move them around, which is the happy medium in between the two. All right, and then this concept, I think number 2 is the most important one. This is anchored, and this is a ring that goes around the tree for a bench, and underneath it, you could actually have this be lit so that you could have some really beautiful sort of striated lighting go out into the plaza. And we also included in number 1 these linear benches. So these are very similar to the benches that are installed behind the public market currently. These would have backs on them, and we're thinking of those as potentially double-sided too. And number 4, this is half planting, half wood seating, similar to the option that we had before. So this is nice because you can have people sort of sit and interact with planting, and it does give a lot of seating options, but we're also introducing some green and some color within the plaza, which is part of the goal because right now it's a very vast area with concrete, so we wanted to sort of soften that up a little bit. And I'd say all the framework is pretty much similar to the other concept. The other thing I did want to point out is the arches that are noted on the east and west side of Lanes Court. So those are the rough locations for those. And then the mural on Sitgreaves Street. So that would have to be coordinated with the improvements on Sitgreaves, but we think it's a great spot for a mural. This next one, this is just showing the overlay with the potential market tents, the stage area. So definitely the seating that's in the center would have to be moved, but we have the flexibility to do so. So that is it. Those are our 2 concepts, and we're really curious to hear from council what your opinions are on the project in general, but also in between the 2 options, if you had to pick your favorite, what that might be.
Mayor, I have a question. One's for you or Lewis, and then the other one is for Omnis. We've been dealing with the I love Pearly Bakers, but the fence at Pearly for a while now. Is there if it's a fire hazard, it's over the drain, do we have an estimate time of when that's going to come down, or we don't know?
Well, the
Is it
owner
coming
of the property has not come to city council and asked for a permit to encroach upon our right-of-way, which is a requirement. So it is an illegal structure at this time.
Right.
He does not have, that is our right of way, and he doesn't have permission to be there. He has to get a permit from city council. We would like it changed. He put it in, when I talked to him, because he didn't want people walking through. He wanted people, like if they were gonna go to Mother's or Stoke or Rivals, they would walk through. Now they gotta walk around into that pinch point that Laura talks about. We're gonna look for city council to, put this into effect so that we have some teeth to go after this. We have two businesses in Easton and downtown that have encroached upon our right of way without permission. So it's not just Pearly Bakers. I want to point that out.
Or Joel, Mayor, I hear what you're saying. My question is, they didn't pull a permit, so it was done not in accordance with our laws. And our fire chief just determined it's a fire hazard, so I don't understand the process.
We have, well, first of all, I believe bill number 14 addresses part of this concern. But why don't I have the Director of Public Works, Dave Hopkins, specifically address council on this?
So there were two issues we wanted to address. One is a permanent encroachment, which is generally when you build something permanent in the right of way. You guys approve those all the time. In fact, they even apply to things like we had someone have an exhaust fan vent that came out about 6 inches into Sitgreaves, the aerial space that we had them do an encroachment for. The ordinance was a little vague on how it dealt with non-permanent things in the sidewalk. And so we refer to those as obstructions in the right-of-way. And typically, if you want to put an obstruction in the right-of-way, like a big planter or something, they would submit a sketch. We would look at it and say, you know what, that's fine. There's plenty of ADA space. It's going to beautify the sidewalk area. It looks great. The problem we had, though, was that the ordinance, the way it was written, didn't allow the city engineer's office or anyone for that matter who reviews these things it made it almost impossible for anyone to get anything. So when the last time you guys approved the language, I worked with Joel, we squared it away, and that has been adopted, and now we're just waiting for the 30-day period for it to go into effect. So I think it's probably another week or two, and then we're going to send out notice to the businesses that are not complying. As you're aware, something was built on the 100 block of Northampton Street that just appeared on the sidewalk. That's an obstruction in the right-of-way, plus it violates a number of signage issues through zoning.
I get it, and I thank you, and maybe I'll talk to Joe at another time. I just wanted to understand. I figured if it was a fire hazard, we wouldn't have to go through the entire process. I mean, while we're going through this, God forbid there's an emergency.
Technically, I mean, we do have an encroachment process, and we just figured, you know what, let's get the ordinance squared away. We'll get the language in place, and then we'll just take care of the enforcement.
And it is on today, letter A under 14. So
Okay.
So I guess we'll move forward. Thank you.
All right.
My question for I'm sorry, Dave. Thank you. My question for you is, on the two options, can we pick and choose a couple from one and a couple from two?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I call it the Frankenstein, when you
Or
take
just Frank.
pieces and stitch them together.
Or just Frank.
I have a question.
Dr. Ruggles, I'm sorry, Dr. Ruggles has one.
Just an observation, in looking at what's up there right now, we may want to think about where the placement of the trees are. I realize that that tree may not be as big as what you have in your drawing, but if there's a stage there, you want to have line of sight from all directions, and I don't know that, especially the tree to the left of the stage, looks as though it would be obstruction, at least partially.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm curious because we're working with the existing framework. Do you know, since this has happened, if there's been a stage there?
No.
I'm
Yeah, it
curious.
was there for cruise night, but it doesn't have
That
to
was
be
portable.
there.
That's mobile.
Okay.
Right?
It doesn't have to be there. It's, cruise night, we just bought a brand new portable band shell, and that will be used, and that goes out in the street, and it sets up in the street. We can hop the curb and set it on sidewalks, but it doesn't have to be at that. I think it was put there last year because we have it now, so we used it.
My second observation here is it seems like you want to have all the pedestrian traffic in that 8-foot strip. And every time I've walked through that section, I always cut the corner. You know, I don't want to walk all the way down to the corner and then turn and walk all the way up to the corner, right? So, I think it would be good if there was some designated path, if you will, that kind of follows the arc. Because there's a lot of people that just walk through that section.
Oh, I
And
see.
they don't want to walk all the way down to the corner and turn and walk all the way down to the next corner, you know?
So
They
to
just
like
wanna-
flare out this area? Do you mean?
Yeah.
I see.
So I'm just an observation. I mean, most of the time that I've gone through there, I'm passing through. I'm not going to any of the shops that are along there. You know?
Appreciate the support, Councilman.
You don't have anything in here that puts the outside dining out on the plaza like we had last year. You're saying just in front of their buildings.
Yeah, correct.
I like that plan because I think it gives it a little more public space. The restaurants.
I love the, I
have
love the
the space.
plan.
I think I'm seeing more people utilize the newly developed center square. It looks beautiful, and I think this could be a neat extension of it. I love the idea of those round wooden benches and the flexibility to move them. But my dream is to see, like in Center Square, people kind of picnicking and having lunch and things like that. It's almost like we see at the public market a little bit, especially in that new back area. So both designs are really cool. I think you guys have some great ideas there.
Great, thank you.
My question is, all the talk about the encroachment of in the right-of-ways there, that the plan that has the barriers between the restaurants, is there a way to accomplish that without a physical barrier infringing the right-of-way?
Well, one of the ideas we had is the paving carpet, right here. So the second slide or second image is a pretty good example of that. So that's basically just delineating the zone on the ground without having any sort of vertical element. That is an option, but it obviously would require repaving.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I like.
I really like that. I
Yeah.
think that's a great.
Yeah, that's a
idea
good. Yeah.
To
Nice.
be able to separate. Just one other observation here is that out in front where you're right on the curb line, is there parking there or not parking there?
Oh, there's parking still.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything that kind of designated that. So.
Yeah, we left 11 feet in between the edge of the curb and the face of the bench. So we thought it was good for circulation. You can have like two or
So-
three people
So
pass
that
each other.
11 feet that you have in your drawing right there is the parking area, or is
That's the
people
curb
walk-
edge.
okay,
Yeah.
Curb into the plaza.
okay.
Yeah, this is a sidewalk and this is the parking.
Kenny, Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you very much. I think both designs are very well thought out, but the one thing that really caught my attention was the fact that it's flexible and that we can remove, redesign, or let stay, depending what's going on in that quadrant at that time. I do kind of take away from what you said earlier on, and that was the Allentown Arts area, and that reminds me of somewhat of it. Just that I think our space right here is more of a corner. They're more open back there, but I like that. I like the fact of the benches that you can sit on both sides and get more seating out of that too. I think that's great. Well done.
Great.
My
Thank you.
big concern is the owner of the installed fence, the permanent obstruction, is not cooperating with us. And we need city council to enforce and make us enforce the ordinance that requires a permit for encroaching onto our right of way. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if there's a fire in that building on the apartments above it, they can't get close enough. They'd have to rip it apart anyway, and they would do it. Believe me, our firefighters would definitely, that fence would be gone. But the fire chief brought it to our attention, and as many times as we tried to talk to the gentleman, it's falling on deaf ears. And he brings up a lot of excuses, but the fact of the matter is, the other businesses down there, because of that pinch point, feel that they're not being served, that they don't even know they're there, Rivals, Stoke, and Mothers, they don't know because you get caught in that fence, so you just go away. And I just want city council to know it's not gonna be a popular thing.
No, it isn't.
But it is the
It'll have
right
to
thing.
happen.
It's the right thing.
I have a question. This is beautiful, by the way.
Thanks.
My question is, like you mentioned, the flexibility for events, right? Have you compared those flexibility and the space with different locations? Like for some kind of different alleys where events are happening? Like, how would you say it's like it will be flexible for the events?
The layout that we show here with the red lines, it's sort of combining different events. So this is showing the winter market huts, how they
Okay.
set up on either side.
Right, right, right.
And then the stage we heard is there on cruise night, so we also plop that on there. But I've seen it in different configurations for Bacon Fest and Garlic Fest. And I think the attitude was we tried to just minimize what was fixed so that everything else could move around it. So that depending on the festival needs and how many vendors you have, then you can reconfigure as you need.
Okay.
So the only thing fixed here are those arched benches, and then the circular benches here.
Just to be
Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
just to be clear, the reconfiguration, we're talking about only in Lynn's Court. Like, we're not going to move them to another location in the city. It's only reconfigured in Lynn's Court, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we do have plans, obviously, as you mentioned, the pedestrian way on Sitgrave Street. The Air Products Plaza behind the public market is done and will be dedicated in a couple weeks. So we're looking forward to having events back there as well. So I think it makes a lot of sense to do this at Lens Court. Lens Court is the most popular because it houses 5 eating establishments just on Lens Court. And then, of course, on Center Square, you have 3 more restaurants coming. So,
That's good.
Mr. Ravitz.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Mayor, I'm sorry. I know you're going to be sick of me.
I'm not sick of you.
He got to wait till public comment.
No, this
This
is a
is a
public
public
presentation.
No, yeah, but it's public comment on
No.
agenda items.
No,
This is agenda
that's-
items.
that's-
This is, while we're doing this, it's easier to, go ahead, Mr. Ravitz.
We open up a can.
I guess just to be clear on it, they're basically fins that come off of the building facade. They don't wrap around at all. So we didn't want to sort of bound people within the dining area.
They're very
So,
popular in a lot of
that's it.
major cities. I've seen, and I think they do look nice without being like, it's not like a cement wall going up between, each restaurant.
Yeah.
I,
That was the
I'm a
intent.
fan.
Any other questions from the public on the presentation? We've got a lot of young people. You will be utilizing this for the next 50 years, 60 years. Do you have any questions or anything?
50, 60 years.
I won't be here. I won't be here,
Frankie will.
but they will be. Frankie won't be here either.
I'll be here.
Revisit
You
this
can't
every 10
even-
years.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
So City Council will see something on their agenda to make this permanent and probably in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
Thank you for your presentation. Wonderful job.
At this time, we have a public comment on any agenda items. You will have a comment period at the end. You can talk about anything, ask any questions, comments, or concerns. But at this time, it's on agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
Okay. We have a resolution approving a
You
certificate
can do
of,
them all at the same time.
certificate of appropriateness
You can
for,
do them all at the same time.
oh, I can?
Yeah.
All right.
We have a COA for, and then.
I have
Mr. Fry.
5 COAs. 22 Northampton Street, 513 Ferry Street, 158 to 60 Northampton Street, 204 Bushkill Street, and 43 and 45 South 6th Street.
I move to consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second, Mrs. Rose. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye. You called me
Mr.
twice?
I did, didn't I?
Sorry, you can vote twice.
We're good.
Okay, there are no reports to be received by council. Move right into committee reports. Committee reports, Mayor, Vice Mayor Brown, Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, we met yesterday in committee, and Mr. Zanetti, our director, went over year-to-date with us yesterday, and we had what I thought, a very good conversation between the council members. And tonight, I have one thing coming under Bill 13, which is the Central Firehouse. We're going to be amending the 2024 under the fund balance 151. That's all I have for this evening.
Okay, Economic Development Committee, Councilmember Pinnabone.
Thank you, Mayor. So we did get a grant last week from PHFA. It's going to allow the city or RDA to rehab 3 buildings for a total of 5 affordable housing units. So it'll be 3 buildings for 5 units. We got approved for the grant yesterday. So we're very happy about that. More affordable housing in the city. The program administrator job was posted for a week. We received 20 applications for the new position and have started interviewing. Number 3, as the mayor mentioned yesterday at committee, the LRTA passed at the county. So that is all 3, the city, the school district, and the county. So those additional 9 properties will be added to the LRTA. And finally, the city, Kingsley and team will be working with Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce to organize an open house on a few of our larger properties in the city. The Valor Space downtown, Wells Fargo on the corner at the Circle, the Bank of America building on Larry Holmes Drive, and 225 Ferry Street, a guy's former office. The mayor will provide comments on the state for the city and the case for investment at a reception at the Valor Space. So we're gonna have more details of that when the mayor has it. And Mayor, Monday and Tuesday of next week, myself, the mayor, Pastor Phil Davis, and a few other community members are going to Harrisburg for 2 days for the training on the blueprint communities. For the grant we received for Southside, it's similar to Elm Street and West Ward, and now we have one in Southside. So we're really excited to get that going. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pinnabone. Planning and Coach Committee, Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week I attended the monthly zoning meeting, and I just wanted to remind everyone out there the monthly planning meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday, May 1st at 6:30, and the meeting agenda is on the city's website. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for attending those meetings. Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Ruggles.
Thank you. Just wanted to let council know that we're in the process of setting up a training session for the LiDAR. It is limited as far as participation is concerned, but they are coming here to do it. We don't have to send our people to Orlando, although they probably wouldn't mind that. But they are coming here to do it, and when they do the training, they bring the equipment with them that is our equipment. So we actually train on our equipment. And so I would expect that as soon as that training is done, we'll probably have to go through some process of setting up procedure, just so that we're comfortable with how we're obtaining the information, so that if it is used in a court of law, it'll stand up. And so those procedures need to be developed on that process. So I'm really still hoping that sometime maybe late June, early July, this will be operational. And I think we will be the first city in the entire state that includes Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
Big boys.
Just a quick question, Mr. Roger. The training will be here in the City Hall or the EPT, or they are picking up a different location?
What's that?
The training?
The training will be here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're coming in to do it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's cheaper to bring, one guy here than send like 5 or 6 there, so.
Yeah.
Mayor, if I could just thank Councilman Ruggles again. I know we all thanked him before, but that was a huge grant that you acquired for us, and to be the only ones in the state with Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and everybody else, that was great, and it's huge for us. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
We may, I think there's only 4, there's only 4 police departments in the country that have this. And then the FBI and, I think the Army, their criminal investigation has it. So
That's great.
that's it.
Thank you for that.
$350,000. Public Works Committee, Councilmember Enninger.
Thank you, Mayor. During last night's committee session, we had Public Works do a presentation about a footbridge across the Lehigh. We haven't really come to a resolution about that. There'll be more to come on that, though, I'm sure.
That's going to be awesome.
Also tonight, under new business, I will be introducing Bill number 14, identifying cartway and right-of-way widths, as we discussed a little bit just a few minutes ago. And I also will be introducing a resolution authorizing purchase of a weed machine. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Enninger. Administration Committee, Councilmember Sultana.
If you want me to.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a meeting with Mr. Lewis right before the council meeting, and he went over the parking that was discussed last night. And I will just ask Mr. Lewis to explain more.
I don't have any other comments, Mayor. I'll go over them under my report.
Report of the mayor. I just want to remind everybody that this weekend is the same people who sponsored Clam Jam is doing a thing down at the Scott Park called Dueling Rivers Whiskey and Food Jam, and they're doing it with the business across the river on the Phillipsburg side, and they'll be back and forth. And I think the Sandbar is doing the evening entertainment, and we're doing the daytime entertainment. We also, Mr. Pittman mentioned that we did get our LERTA approval. That was a big win for the city, but not as big as the $4 million grant that we got for Nurture Nature. So they'll be building their planetarium. It was originally down on on Bushkill Drive, and we ran into some issues there with the Carl Sarner Arch Trail and the development, and they wanted to move. They didn't want to go down there, and they wanted to put the planetarium right at their facility on the 500 block on North Hampton Street. And we didn't think we could move it, and we did. So I want to thank the economic development staff, DCED, and myself for the lobbying that we did to get the $4 million. We didn't have to return it. I hate returning grant money.
Yes, sir.
We'll also be filling two vacancies we have in the code office, so that's important. The Mayor's Summer Youth Camp, if you know anybody, we got a lot of young adults here today. We have the Mayor's Summer Youth Camp for junior 9th to 12th grade, and it'll be the week of the July 22nd. It's a good opportunity for you to really get immersed in local government and find out what goes on in local government, and then you also be making a presentation to City Council that Wednesday night. You'll be at the meeting. The Ferry Street demolition we've been waiting for insurance companies and some of the landowners to finally make a decision, and that demolition will start at the end of this week or the beginning of next. The vice presidential debate up at Lafayette, which will be held in September, is becoming a bigger issue as the world becomes more uneasy. And our police department is working very closely with the security staff and the presidential debate committee to make sure that everything goes off without a problem. Last night, I presented a resolution to a number of the council members who were here. There were 6 of them here. Basically, I am personally getting really tired of going out in the community and being asked what I'm doing about Mrs. Sultana. And she's here tonight, so I didn't talk about it last night. But I am really getting tired of it. Again, city council cannot remove a member of the board. In Congress, they can by 2/3 majority, but that's allowed for in the congressional district in the Constitution of the United States. In talking, I think Councilman Rose brought up a really good suggestion of a code of conduct for the city council members and elected officials. Everyone has one, including us. We do have one, but I'm gonna be making some presentation, in 2 weeks on what we could do to make it better. The last thing I'd like to bring up is, this is the feasibility study that was done for passenger railroad in Lehigh Valley. I'm gonna give a copy, I have 2 copies, I'm gonna give one to, Mrs. Rossioli. Ms. Rossioli, let her, keep it in the office if anybody wants to take a look at it. It's, something I won't see in my lifetime, but it's certainly something that is a requirement and necessary for Lehigh Valley. It's horrible that we don't have mass transit, and we rely on buses that just pollute the air. And my concern about it is the amount of capital, and the amount of time it would take, because if you're not going to put high-speed railroad in, it's going to take you 2 hours and 20 minutes to get to Manhattan, and then if you put the $400 million into capital improvements, you still have about $150,000 to $250,000 a year in operating deficits. Why we should be subsidizing Amtrak and SEPTA and Norfolk Southern is beyond me, but that's the way they bring that all out in this report. So I'll leave it in the council clerk's office.
Is there more copies, Mayor? The books?
I'll leave it in the council office.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on is report of the city administrator.
Mayor, just 2 minor things, as I had mentioned. I submitted the reports to council regarding last night's presentation, and formally to the clerk's office. And then secondly, Mesa is actually going to have a Cinco de Mayo
Oh, yeah, Cinco de
festival
Mayo is next week.
next week. So they're going to be using, and the reason why I mentioned this is because they're going to be using the 3rd Street parking lot as part of their festival. So
I just want you to know, they requested that they put up their tents and their band equipment on Friday night. I said no. They don't
no.
start till 12 o'clock on
No, no.
Saturday. They could do it Saturday morning. We can't close down 18 spaces for the businesses or downtown.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, I think the compelling decision, Mayor, was when they said that we were going to lose a big Cinco de Mayo festival to Bethlehem.
Yeah,
So we decided to put one up immediately. That's my
absolutely. Not a problem.
report. Oops.
City solicitor,
Thank you. I have no report tonight.
I just wanted to put us on legal grounds, the removal of that fence there's no encroachment agreement. So we're right?
That's why we are passing
Right.
this the reason for the resolution tonight is to make it absolutely clear that we've defined the right-of-way, and so there's no issue as to what is the proper right-of-way, and at that point in time, then we have the appropriate we have the appropriate definitions, identifications in place in order to notify a property owner that, you're encroaching on a right-of-way and you don't have any right to be here.
Thank you.
It's an ordinance, not a resolution.
Excuse me, an ordinance. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, there's no correspondence to be received. I'll move right on to unfinished business, Madam Clerk.
Bill number 12, amending Chapter 435 of Property Maintenance and Housing Standards.
So introduced.
She introduced it.
That was introduced last.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
We got
we-
a roll call.
Let's so move.
so we need
You get a
a
second?
second.
Thank you.
And we addressed this last night. Dr. Ruggles, your concerns were addressed?
Just, also I wanted that left in.
Okay.
And I think that
And
was.
it
that was
is
the
left
case.
in.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to vote on city council.
Yeah.
We amended it last week as per Dr. Ruggles' request, so that they do have to paint the plywood, even though it's only for 30 days, to match the house. Just want to make sure,
Yeah, we have it. Okay.
I know you have it. I want to make sure everybody understood what they're voting on. The amended resolution, or amended bill, actually, it's an ordinance.
Okay.
Roll call.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Bill number 13, amending the 2024 Fund 151 for repairs to Central Fire Station.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move this second, any discussion? I just
Mayor.
like, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I called Lewis about this today, and I don't know if anybody else looked at it the way I did, but just to get clarification, I needed it because the way it was worded in the resolution, I didn't understand about the 80,000. So I learned that it was part of 2023. They never finished it, so we put it back in the capital fund.
Yep.
And now we're taking it out.
There we go.
And I just want to make a comment that we are doing a study that our physical facilities in fire department are really bad, almost as bad as the 500 garage, because the DPW garage is bad as well. But it's been flooded enough times that some of the walls, we put some emergency repairs in the walls last summer. There is a study, so this money may seem like it's going good money after bad issue, but it's not, because we don't expect to replace Fire Central. We expect to make changes and add on, but we don't expect to just demolish it. So the money we're spending is this additional $20,000 is not going to go to waste. I just want to make that clear. Roll call.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
And Mayor Panto?
Aye. New business, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Bill number 14, identifying cartway and right-of-way widths for city streets and bridges.
So introduced.
Thank you. A resolution authorizing
Hold on, I'm sorry. Mr. Hopkins, do you want to just address this issue? Why it came up? Yeah.
Sure. So all the roadways in the city are, they define a right-of-way line, which really is where the right-of-way meets the property owner's line. That's, typically, like most of the downtown streets are 3660, which means, they have, whatever the math is, I can't do it in my head. But we have been operating off a 1973 map, which the engineers since then have used. Recently, we're going through a clearance process on a PennDOT project, and they wouldn't accept the map as proof of right-of-way. So we then just decided that, let's take all of the established cartways and right-of-ways off of the map and then put them in list form, have them adopted by city council, so then it's official. So it's the same cartways and right-of-ways that we've been working with. We have maps going back to the 1930s that show the same, so we're pretty sure they're accurate. And I think our former city engineer, Joe Morrow, had gone through and made sure they were accurate. But that's the reason we can't prove, and I asked Karen to go through the ordinances, and we just can't find the original ordainments of these streets. Some of them date back to the 1800s.
Let me ask you while you're up here, another sidebar issue. The 300 block, or the 200 block, I'm sorry, of Northampton Street, where we had the sanitaries being replaced.
Mhm.
How much longer do you think that'll take?
Hopefully by the end of this week, they have it repaired. There are a lot of utilities.
Well, they're sure I was up there. There's a lot.
So the crew's been struggling a little bit trying to get around
Most of
everything.
it's being done by hand.
I know that's a pretty tough job, and the main is on the other side of the street. So, and they're deep.
Okay. Any other questions for
Mr. Hopkins, while you're there, could you explain the weed machine that's going to be on the next resolution?
Sure. So we don't use synthetic chemicals in our work, and it's really, maintaining all the ornamental beds that we have and, all the playground areas and the playground mulch is very difficult. We have 6 guys on the parks crew, and even though we do get summer helpers, we're constantly chasing our tails with mechanical weed removal. So we started hearing about these machines. It's a truck-mounted machine that has a wand. It basically heats water to 200 degrees and then uses all natural materials, mostly made from corn and wheat. And it makes a foam that snuffs out the weeds. So one person can drive around, start doing all the ornamental beds, all the playground mulch. And because generally weeds take over the playground mulch, we end up having to till it in because once it's rooted, we can't get it out. And then we till it in, and we're going through probably $10,000 to $15,000 of playground mulch every year just because of that. And so I think this will not only save us money in that department, but we demonstrated the machine. It worked really good. We did it over at Condren Park, and it worked really well. Allentown has 2 of them, so we went over there and watched them use it, got references, but it's a really environmentally friendly way to remove weeds and not use chemicals.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Come over my
So-
house.
While you're there, can you just tell council what you told me at the beginning or before the meeting about the parking in the Carl Sterner lot or whatever?
Oh, yeah, Councilman Ruggles had asked, apparently there's a lot of our employees parking in the KSAT trailhead over by the 500 complex. And so at our staff meeting today, I'd asked everyone who's parking there, and there are a bunch of employees parking there just because inside the complex with the storage of the candle, all of the repair vehicles that the garage has down there, there's really not a whole lot of room. So I asked them to try and figure out a way to get at least 5 cars out of the lot, and then they informed me that a lot of the cars between 6 and 8 every day are from Safe Harbor, which I wasn't aware of. So I guess, they had taken part of their own parking lot with, they have some planters set up and.
Right, yeah, the outdoor.
Yeah, and there are outdoor tables and things like that. So staff and visitors to Safe Harbor have been using the lot. So I can make a call over there and just see if they can find an alternate spot to park. But we're going to try and get at least 5 of our guys back in the complex.
Okay.
So people can park.
Any other
You're
questions,
welcome.
Mr. Hopkins?
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, while you're there.
Okay.
A resolution authorizing Department of Public Works to purchase the weed machine for $45,197.47.
So moved.
Moved second by Pinnabone. Any other questions on the weed machine? I thought it was a great explanation. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
At this point in the meeting, we're at, there's public comment on any matter relating to the city of Easton. Mr. Ravitz. I don't know. That's a good question.
No, they came out.
I'm not sure there.
No, that was 5 generations.
Oh,
Me-
I'll let you know.
Melanie knows.
I don't think so. Melody Rogers, 710 West Berwick Street, Easton. So Southside Civic this past weekend did a cleanup Southside, and we had a lot of volunteers. Crystal came and Kenny Brown came, and we had a bunch of other people. Yes, Frankie helped deliver the pizza to feed the people. But we had a couple issues that we wanted to discuss. First of all, they need the backboard there. The kids had told us what they wanted. The backboard is just primer on it, so that it needs to be painted. And they need to put the square back up there. The kids were complaining about that. Let's see, what else?
I'm sorry, Melody, what backboard?
The backboard on the basketball court.
Basketball,
Yeah,
okay.
we play
Doesn't have
basketball.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then we are looking to see, they used to have benches there. They took all the benches away. So now our problem is parents that have little kids that take them to the playground, they have to stand and watch their kids play because there is no benches for anybody to sit on. The only place you can sit is one picnic table under the pavilion. Can we get benches put back in there?
It was probably taken out, they were probably taken out because of vagrancy.
Well, it's because of trees at the Pioneer
Pioneer
Playground
Playground.
behind Cheston.
Mayor, it was taken out because the kids were hanging out late at night, smoking.
No, that wasn't it.
No, it wasn't. I'm telling you, it was it.
They had
I didn't
trees
ask.
in
I
there.
told you. I know it was. I got the call from the chief about it. We talked about it a couple years ago.
Oh, well, that's not what was told us. They were told that they had put all the trees in and they took out a lot of the seating because of putting the trees in different places. Well, now they're out of there.
We don't take out benches because of it, we take them out because of vagrancy and homelessness and
Well,
sleeping.
yeah, but
Don't
here's the
take them out
problem. I mean,
because
but-
they're trees.
yeah, but the kids mostly don't sit on those those benches anyway.
No,
They
you
were
bring up a
sitting
good
on-
reason why we should have them, but I'm just
Yeah.
telling you, that's why they were taken out.
Okay, well, so now the kids also want another picnic table. We have one there if they want another one up there, if we can get that possibly. They've gone with several years without even having a picnic table up there. I had to call in to get one up there. Let's see. Also, the garbage was atrocious in this park, as bad as it was over at the Centennial as well. So we had cleaned it up really good. We went back later in the day to check, and some kids were in there and they had junk all over. We went back in there to clean it up again. Patty and I went in there. We talked to the kids and told them they need to govern their playground. Belongs to them, and who wants to play in a bunch of garbage? And the kids agreed. Today I went by and it was really bad garbage. When we went by right before we came here, they cleaned it all up, which was a great big plus for those
They're
kids.
taking
We were really-
ownership then.
Yeah.
Takes ownership.
Yeah, so which was really good because nobody wants to play in the garbage. But the most problem is the wiser kids, they go there and they break bottles, and that's the glass that's around that we had picked up.
If I can just interrupt you for 1 minute, Mel.
Sure.
One of the things I gathered when I was over there the other day, you have the respect of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And just by you going up and talking to the kids, they responded to you.
They did.
That's kudos to yourself because you know where to meet them at, and they respect you for that. And that's how they start to take ownership on places like that.
Yeah, a lot of those kids are like different kids now. But before, when I lived over by there, I mean, I was there every day cleaning up before, so the kids wouldn't get needles and stuff. We wouldn't have the bushes there and stuff. I would clean that every day, so it worked out. But anyway, another thing is with the overabundance amount of kids that have been going there, up at maybe 50 and more kids have been going there and hanging there. They're not leaving at dusk, and the cops are not coming and making them get out. The neighbors are complaining about, get these kids out of there at dusk because that's what it's supposed to be. There is not one sign on anywhere on those fences showing that it's closing at dusk. I know we had talked about this before. Is there any way we could put not only at Pioneer but also at Centennial, because they've had gun activity over there. They have kids that are really bad over there that are stealing phones when they put them down to go play basketball. Kids are coming up there and stealing the phones and stuff for these little kids that are playing. And they need to get the bad kids out of there, and they don't need them to be hanging there at nighttime as well over at Centennial. Can we get fences, gates put up there and lock the gates at dusk to keep those kids out of there? Do you think that would be an option now?
Mayor, or Mel.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Mel, it was a lot different when we were growing up. You had all the kids' attention because you babysat almost the whole South Side.
Yeah.
And everybody knows you, right? And your
Right.
kids grew up with us. But if we close the gates and we kick them out right at dusk, where do they go? They're not going to go home. My issue is if we can, and we can talk to the chief, I'm sure, Mayor or Lewis, we can control. I think we could patrol it and make sure we keep eyes on it. And I don't want them there all night, right? Because people sleep in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But we need more places to go. When I look at the Boys Club, when I look at the community center, they're closing at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, right? And then we're kicking them out of the parks at 8:20. Well, we don't want them in the streets. We don't want them to commit crime. We don't want them to vandalize. But then we give them nowhere to go come 8:30. So
Exactly. I understand. And I love them to be in the park. I love them to be in the park, even in it's a nice summer night and it's still light out. They could play basketball till 9 o'clock. I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's just that at that time when they need to leave, they need to lock the gates because those kids will leave when you say so, even if the officer comes and shines a light, get them out of there then. But they will come back when there's no activity there, and the police don't come back. They just don't patrol on their regular basis. Now, I talked to Chief. Chief said he'll have them go and walk around in the playground. He'll have them go in there. They haven't been doing that. The neighbor's been saying there has been no officers around there. These little people that live there at that wall, they basically sit by their windows and watch the kids out there because they just get carried away. So we want to just correct the problem. And if they can stay till 9 o'clock, I wouldn't mind. I think they could raise it to that. That would be great because in the summertime, where do you have to go? But when it's time to leave, they need to get out and they need not to come back during the night. And they hear all the activity all night long. They hear the loudness. Then they're calling the police. And then by the time they have their little scanners or whatever, they're gone. The police, they're coming over there. They hear it on their scanner. The kids take off. The police leave. They come right back again. So we need to have a situation to see what we can do to correct this because the people are really tired of them coming back at nighttime.
Yeah, but I don't think so. It's a public park. I don't think so. We can ask people to leave or.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah, there's a
okay.
curfew. There was
We have an
one
ordinance.
time there was an ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, that they have to leave.
Okay.
And only one more other thing, real fast, Dave. We need to get rid of the poison in there. The poison at the Pioneer Park is the whole one side between the house and the park, the playground,
there.
and it is loaded really bad. We couldn't even get near it to get the garbage out of there. It was so bad poison. Thank you. That'll be great. We'll
They
appreciate
said
it.
that with a smile.
Yeah, we'll appreciate it. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, what is the current curfew time?
During the dusk.
During the dusk.
in the parks.
All parks. All parks.
Patty Hetzel, 424 Iron Street.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna back off of Mel here in regards to if you can't, we ask the kids to govern the park. Isn't there a way to get a youth coordinator to just pop by the parks every so often during the day and then maybe even at night just to see what's going on?
Well, we have a part-time director. We could put Val Davis over there. I mean, she can be traveling from park to park during the summer when we have the summer playground program. But yeah, we could certainly take a look at that.
Yeah, and she plays basketball, so she
Yep.
can go right in, be able to talk to them kids while they're playing ball,
Yeah.
just to see what's going on, who's doing what, who's not.
Yeah,
I had a lot
now-
of parents come back to me that are afraid and will not take their younger kids there anymore because of the profanity and, how, they're speaking to individuals, even like myself and Mel. Some of them were friendly and some of them were not. Yeah, so, but they won't take their kids there anymore. And that's a nice park. Now, I was told that Cheston now has to stay open. They made that, so they have that little playground in Cheston in the field along with the half court. So I've been telling everybody, take your kids over there, because the park is nice over there. So, and then my second thing is Iron Street a state road?
No.
No. Okay. So in the last 30 days,
Iron and Berwick.
yes,
Berwick is, and that's what the problem.
Berwick is.
but Iron's not.
Neither is Packer, and we can't do it because of Berwick.
But there's no way to slow down if it's spray painted in,
That's why we put
in
the
the
speed
road.
limit signs. They've ordered speed limit signs for there. The radar tells you how fast you're going. There's one at the top of Smith Avenue, and there's one on Berwick Street. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, on Berwick Street.
Two on Berwick.
But I'm talking about the side street. You should have seen. I have a video of the
I know,
car.
yeah.
4 accidents in less than a month. One was a railroad truck. Thank God it wasn't a car, and he hit the back of a U-Haul trailer. Otherwise, that car would have been destroyed the way they come up and down the road. And then there was the two the other day that came up onto the sidewalk again. The telephone pole needs to be corrected on 900 Berwick Street because it's basically just leaning forward now. And another car edging out to see, went, but this car was flying down Iron. Swerved, went all over the place. Their grill fell off, hubcaps fell off, everything. The daycare's right there, and that's my concern too. You have the daycare there, and somebody's going to go into that corner. So I don't know if there's something you can put cement rails or something like that up at the corner areas to make sure, like, nobody's.
If we were allowed to put speed humps, I was down in Newtown last Sunday for a soccer match, and every street had a speed hump.
Yep.
And we're not allowed to do it.
They won't do it.
No, I understand.
It's just
But
like one down there.
I saw a sign on Berwick Street where it said stop sign ahead. And that's on, I think, the 1000 block of Berwick Street. Have you noticed it?
I've been there so long, I have no idea.
All right. Well, I've noticed it, and I was like, oh, wow. It actually says stop sign ahead.
Where, going to Glendon Avenue?
No, going to Burke and Iron.
Oh.
That's the first I noticed
Take a
it,
look
and I'm
at
like, oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I never noticed.
So,
You speeding.
I mean,
Right.
like I said, Iron Street's not a state road, so if there's something, like you can spray paint where people can see in the big white letters, like, slow down. Anything. Or a sign that says, cautious.
These signs we have out and the little boxes that they bought, let me tell you, they're speeding all over the city. And I'm not gonna harp on it again, but the only way to stop speeding is to give local police the opportunity
I
to
know
use radar.
Yeah, the radar.
And we're not allowed to use it. We're the only state in the whole United States that, out of 50 states, they're not allowed to use it. And it's we just got a grant. The General Motors grant will help us with pedestrian safety. But Allentown unfortunately has a problem, and their kids are getting hit.
Well, and that's my concern.
Sure.
They're going into people's houses. Yeah, they have homeowners insurance, but I mean, they're
No,
destroying.
I agree with you.
It took forever for
25 years I've been doing this, and 25 years I've been fighting for radar.
Yeah, I mean, well, I grew up there my entire life,
I know.
and it's like it's unbelievable. Where you did study and it said there was only like 10 accidents in 10 years. I'm like, that's
That's
impossible.
impossible.
There's
I
yeah,
know.
yeah. It's like there was 4 in less than 30 days that I saw. So okay, and then the third thing, you brought up code of conduct. Does city council go through background, child abuse, drug screening, anything like that?
Don't have to.
because the public votes in.
It's not a school teacher, or like, school teachers have to, and anybody, custodians, anybody works.
I gotta
in
get it
school.
done every 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I just went through that just to be on the PTA.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, anytime you're around youth.
Thank you.
Church?
All right. Mr. Groff.
Thank you, Richard Groff, 425 South 21st Street. Going to bill number 14 in my
You said
45.
425.
425.
205. I said, that's the hospital.
No, 425 South 21st Street. In my 45 years of purchasing real estate in Easton, I appreciate that you made your list of the right-of-ways. I've experienced numerous private streets, let's call them private alleys. Do you have a list of all of those as well? Okay. Thank you.
Private alleys are the nemesis of any city politician. Inevitably, there's one on Nesquehoning Street between Nesquehoning and St. Joe
Oh, yeah.
that is parked up by the person that lives there all the time. And little old lady can't park her car in front of her house, can't park on the side of the house because she can't get through. It's there. And then we had the one up on Lafayette Street. Same thing, right behind, just north of Lafayette Street, same problem. Person couldn't get to their garage because somebody was parked right in the middle and wouldn't move their car. But it's unfortunately, all those are magisterial problems, not city. There's nothing our police officers can do about it because it is private property. Anyone else? Mr. Shear.
I just was doing some research on Joseph Len, Lehn.
Oh, yeah?
The closest Len I can get is in Lancaster, and he had something to do with painting. Anyway, the bottom line is, because there's no Lens anywhere close, if you're ever thinking of changing the name of that alley in the
What a
future
problem.
because it has no connection, like Panto Place, don't do that metal bridge that says to Lens Court and then have
We
to
don't have to worry
change.
about it being Panda Place.
Oh, we're naming it.
But I'm sure it has some significance.
Well, one of the things I found is that Len could have been Leonard, but maybe there was a guy Leonard who, was hanging around there, and that was his place.
In the records, and
Yeah.
Madam Clerk can possibly look at it.
I
don't
doubt
spend
it.
a lot of time on it, but it should be everything we have named.
Eagles
as
may
named
have
for
it.
somebody.
The library may have an archive.
That's all. Thank you.
We know all the streets up on College Hill were named after mostly college presidents, McCartney and all those guys. Cattell. And Cunningham Stadium is named after Dr. Cunningham, who was the superintendent of schools for Easton for 61 years.
Been around.
Now imagine anybody trying to be 61 years at anywhere. But he was, and Ed Tracy. I had Ed Tracy as a professor when I was in college, and of course he was a superintendent of schools, and Tracy Elementary School is named after him.
Yep.
Ugliest building in the city, in the school district. Okay. Anyone else?
Make it plain, Mayor.
I just have one,
Go ahead.
one
Mr.
event
Rose.
reminder. A week from Saturday, May 4th, the historic Easton House Tour is coming up.
Yeah.
I'll be volunteering out at one of the historic homes on 14th Street, so if anyone's out there, I look forward to seeing you. If you're interested in tickets, eastonhousetour.com. This year's event is raising funds for the Easton Main Street Initiative, all the good work that Kim Kmetz and her team are doing in the city. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Move to adjourn.
Move for adjourn.
Second.
Second by Pittibone. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Hi.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Sorry, Roger. Sorry.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown?
Oh. Aye.
Aye. You young folks in the back of the room, if you need your papers signed, bring them up now, please.
We're not going to admit you were here. How are you? Good. We're not going to admit that you were here. We're going to say no. Who?